Okay. So lately, I have been thinking about that phrase that we often hear at weddings, right? Till death do us part. Because we say it with such conviction, like few things do we really say with that vigor. It's this grand promise of forever, right? It's dramatic, it's cinematic, it's that happily ever after, at least until one of us dies. And it's funny too, because most marriages don't actually make it past 10 years. And hey, I'm not judging. I've got a divorce badge myself. But lately, that phrase has just really had me thinking, what if we've been looking at it wrong? What if death doesn't actually separate us from love, but actually joins us to life itself? And recently, in my meditation teacher training, we were asked the question, what would you do if you found out that you only had 3 hours left to live? And in that moment, the first thing that my unruly mind offered up was that New York meme where she's like, do you know you have 30 minutes? You know, that mix of chaos, panic, and humor where you're like, what do I even do with this time? Do I call someone? Do I try to run? Or do I just maybe enjoy these last few moments in my comfortable bed? It's kind of a funny question, but also painfully real, because a lot of us really live our lives like this, right? We move through life as if we have all of this time in the world until something comes to shake us up, right? An unexpected breakup or a diagnosis, a big life change, and then all of a sudden you become painfully aware of how much we let fear quietly run our lives. Fear of making the wrong choices, or fear of disappointing others, fear of death. And a lot of us really learn these fears really early on. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and so fear was something that was deeply embedded in a lot of what we were taught to believe. And growing up, I was so terrified of making mistakes, of not really understanding the rules. So I'd get really terrified if I caught myself singing Christmas songs or wanting to celebrate my birthday. I was like, oh no, does this mean I'm not going to get eternal life? And this is the moment I was fearing, that moment where I would just freeze in public. So pardon me as I gather my thoughts. Gonna have to pull the phone out for memory of that little hook, but we're gonna do this a little bit. So growing up, I really asked a lot of questions because I was so afraid of getting it wrong. Questions about other religions. I was really curious about what would happen after death if I didn't get this eternal life. What reincarnation or karma meant, and what it meant to be enlightened. And those questions were pretty off limits, and so I was definitely left to grapple with those on my own, some of which I still grapple with today. For example, with reincarnation, it's something that I struggle to really comprehend sometimes, not because it's not a beautiful idea, but because the logic can get a little tricky for me sometimes. Like, if we Are we saying that if someone is born into privilege, that they earned that from a past life? Or if somebody was born into suffering, that they deserve that too? And that was something that never really sat fully right with me. But karma, on the other hand, is something that has always been really fascinating to me, because I've come to understand it not as a punishment or a reward, but as an echo of energy, a reflection, life mirroring back to us where we've placed our attention. And this is something that science also hits at, right? Research has shown that particles behave differently when observed. And physics tells us that energy can either be created or destroyed, only transformed. And even matter itself is energy vibrating at different frequencies. So these things that we perceive as completely solid and fixed are also themselves participating in this infinite dance of energy and motion. And our bodies perfectly, because every moment, millions of cells are dying and regenerating inside of us. We are literally in a constant state of transformation. And meditation has helped me to also see that this is a process that we are experiencing in our inner worlds too. Because sometimes we forget or we fail to notice because we're distracted, but we are constantly shedding old habits, old stories, old identities, dying tiny, invisible deaths every day. And so every time that we choose awareness over conditioning, love over fear, presence over conditioning again, we birth new versions of ourselves. And meditation is the practice of participating in that act consciously instead of unconsciously. Because this version of you that is here right now, pre-dinner, pre-commute, pre-whatever happens next, will never exist in this exact same form again. But that's not tragic, that's beautiful, because it means that that invitation to participate is still available to you right now. Not later, not someday in the future, not whenever things settle down or when you get it perfectly. This moment is the only forever that we'll get. And so say that enlightenment is real. What if it's not something that is attained by trying to figure out how to break out of the cycle of death and rebirth? What if it's about learning how to really meet it by falling so deeply in love with it that there is nothing left to fear? And so the question is, will you own the power of this moment and choose to participate in your own becoming fully, fiercely, and with love in your heart while you're here? Thank you.